Welcome to episode number 154 of Broad Street Hustle. I'm your host, Jason Sayeda, and tonight we're going to start with the Phillies. Some ugly things happening with this last Mets series, so we're going to run through that. Then we're going to get to the NBA playoffs. We're going to give some picks out for that. And then we're going to end with the NFL draft. We won't go in depth into that, but we have some bets that we made and some thoughts on some I guess questions as far as what's going to happen tomorrow night. We're taping this on Wednesday, so the draft is tomorrow night. So our usual host Tommy is not with us tonight, but the other host Jimmy the Chalk is. Chalky, we're going to have a heavy burden here. It's just you and I.
Well, this is the slim and trim version, so we're looking for efficiency, not.
That's true. That's true. Let's hope we're efficient and we're helpful, and we give out some winners. So before we get into it, as always, tonight's episode is brought to you by Giovannina's Pizza. Tried the rest, now try the best. Giovannina's. All right. Let's talk Phillies before we get into the NBA. It has not been a good week for the Phillies, starting with Sunday with them losing that game to the Marlins that they should have never lost. Now, I don't think anybody should ever lose to the Marlins, but especially the Phillies shouldn't have lost that game. And then this Mets series was just an absolute disaster. I just told somebody before we started the podcast, I don't think they deserve to win any game in this series. I think they deserve to get swept. They're that bad. I have a lot of thoughts on, I've brought up Dombrowski before. I think he just did an awful job of putting this team together in the offseason, starting with the bullpen and then the mess that's in center field. But before I go into all my stuff, I'll throw it to Chalky. And Chalky, what's going on with the Phillies?
Well, I think we can probably add a couple names to that list of bullpen pitchers that you can't rely on that we started last week.
There's maybe two at this point that you can
Alvarado is still doing well. He pitched 2 innings today. I'm not out on Kerkering, but he's had back-to-back not great outings. Romano is
being nice. You're being nice.
Romano pitched well yesterday, but got the loss today and pitched terrible on Saturday. And you forgot to mention, they almost blew the game Saturday.
Yeah, that started this free fall.
Yeah,
really.
Walker leaving the game early made him go to the bullpen early, and Walker was back to pitching fine in that game. So you would have wanted him to get a couple more innings. But, nobody, I don't think any of the starters have gone past 6 since maybe last Friday or Sanchez on Thursday, who also left early last night, but he seems to be okay. They're not doing MRI. Bullpen let up runs every game and almost blew the game on Saturday, did blow the game on Sunday. And then you go to the Mets series. It was just a continuation of the playoffs last year. You got 3 runs against their starting pitching the whole series, and their starting pitching was one of the things we kind of talked about as not being a particular strength that might hold them back from being a division winner or maybe not make the playoffs. And it's just a lot of the stuff from last year in that series. Guys get on base, they don't get them home, bad at bats. You get to it's 5-0 top of the ninth, and then Stott gets you within 1 run, and we've kind of talked about it before, but the home run was probably not the best thing you could have did. If you could get a double there, you probably make it 5-3, and then maybe Turner and Harper give you better at bats, not swinging to tie the game on one pitch.
Yeah, sure.
So Wheeler had one bad at bat today, and it cost him 2 runs. He gives up a home run every game, and they just, they struggled to get runs again today, and it's tough to watch. And like you said, Dombrowski's upgrades was Kepler, who's scuffling right now, and Romano instead of Hoffman, and that's Luzardo's the upgrade that has paid off so far, but nothing else really has. Now, one other thing, because I did mention it last week, is that Stott has been doing all right leading off. I think he's been okay. So maybe that's. I was a little doubtful that was going to work out, but he seemed to be doing okay. I know he didn't start today, but he came in later, so maybe that's some kind of change that eventually will kick it into gear. But yeah, just ugly series to go out, and you're right, they didn't deserve. Not that the Mets played great today, but the Phillies did not deserve to win any of the games.
No. All right, so let me start with Wheeler, and I'm not concerned. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he was very sharp today, and the reason I'm going to say that is they were fouling a lot of balls off on him, and I feel like when he's sharp, he's getting swings and misses. He's putting guys away.
I was surprised they let him pitch into the sixth with his pitch count, because he ended up throwing like 107, and I think they had no choice because of the bullpen getting used, but yeah, that wouldn't have expected that.
You can thank the general manager for that.
Yeah.
Because he's got no bullpen. The guy's got Strom, who you could half rely on, and Alvarado's been lights out. Who else in that bullpen can you even think of relying on? There's no one.
No one else right now.
Kirkring, to me, what pisses me off with that guy is he's got such an electric arm, and he's afraid to throw his fastball. Every pitch he throws is a sweeper. The sweeper. He's got 100-mile-per-hour fastball. Use it. Use your fastball. That sweeper. If you don't throw that sweeper in the right spot, it hangs.
Yeah.
And you see what happens to it when it hangs.
Yeah, he gets a little wild sometimes. He's walked more than a few batters in key situations. So
because he's always throwing a sweeper.
Yeah.
Use your fastball. I can't believe that they don't, and I don't know if he shakes off Real Muto, or if Real Muto is not making him use the fastball. I don't know what the hell's going on, but I think that's the problem with that guy. Like, you have 100-mile-per-hour fastball, start using it.
Yeah.
All right. He's young. You got to give him a break. He's certainly not ready for. I know, especially me, was saying he should be the closer at some point. He ain't ready for that. He's showing that he's not ready for that right now. He's probably not ready to pitch anywhere past the 7th inning right now. So they got problems. They have problems with that bullpen. I don't know how you fix it. Nobody's going to make a trade right now. So let's move to Sanchez, because it seems like they may have skirted. I thought it was a disaster last night. The guy comes out and he's got forearm tightness, which is never good.
Yeah.
For a pitcher. But it seems like he's okay today. So now, does that open up the possibility when when Suarez gets back, which should be in the next week or so? Now you have 6 starters. And as much as we kill Taijuan Walker, he's been pretty good this year. Like, he's been serviceable as your 5th starter. He's been fine. So now, what do you do? Do you go to a 6-man rotation? You can't drop Walker down. He can't pitch out of the bullpen. He's never done it before, and he can't do it. The prime candidate would be Suarez. Is that something they think about?
I mean, we touched on it briefly last week. I mean, I think it's something they have to give serious consideration, especially, with Sanchez. And I mean, just from what Topper was saying before the game, if they can afford to, which, I mean, at this point, there's no reason why they can't, even though they're struggling a little bit. No MRI, no IL as of now, but maybe push his next start back a little bit. So Suarez is scheduled to pitch Sunday. And then if that goes well, he would be ready to go. So just looking at the schedule, they're going to have...
They have 2 off days.
Yeah.
They have tomorrow off and Monday off.
So they'll have... Yeah, so they could... they could juggle the rotation to not really need to use him until next weekend series, I guess.
Yeah.
And then if it's then Suarez would be in. If Suarez pitches Sunday, in theory, he'd be ready to go like Friday if they need to push it back even further, or Friday or Saturday, depending on what they do with the rotation. So, I mean, giving him a break. So it's not going to be a true 6-man rotation, I guess, if you just skip a start for now. But I mean, you can afford to do that. I said it last week. Wheeler and Nola have thrown a lot of pitches over the last couple years. I know Wheeler's one of those creatures of habit where he likes to pitch every 4 days. So I don't know how you juggle that, but I would do it. I would do it at least once, and then if Wheeler completely implodes, then you're like, all right, well, but I would try to give Wheeler and, I don't know if that's what's bothering Nola. I mean, they're saying, the whole thing with he doesn't get better till he gets warmer or whatever. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to make that much of a difference right now, but, I would try it because unless Suarez is going to be like your long relief guy, I mean, unless I don't think he needs to be I wouldn't put him in the bullpen permanently unless he's going to be your closer.
Right.
You put him in the close, but then you're going to have lefty closing, and Alvarado's going to be your lefty in the 8th unless you play a matchup there, and then got Strom, and so now all your best relievers are lefties, so you can't really play matchups that way. So I would seriously entertain the 6-man rotation for sure. And we don't even know what Suarez, is he going to be on a pitch count? Is it, Suarez doesn't usually get through the lineup the third time anyway, so he might be a 5-6 inning guy, and who knows? So
do you do well, I guess you could pitch Walker out of the bullpen if you give him 2 innings to warm up, and then you're like, all right, you're going to start the 4th inning. You know what I mean? You're not going to bring him in the middle of an inning or anything like that.
If I was going to do that, I would start Walker and bring Sanchez in. If you're going to use those 2 guys as a split start, I would bring Sanchez in the 5th inning or 6th inning and let him pitch 3 innings.
You mean Ranger?
Ranger, sorry.
Ranger.
That's who I would. That's if you're going to, now, assuming you're going to pitch him on the same day, I would do that. But if you don't want to. I mean, I don't know what Rangers, like I said, pitch count, if it's going to be a limit, it's going to be. But then you're looking at bullpen. Well, if you need to go more than 1 inning, Strom's going to be your first guy probably that you look at for that.
Right.
Or you call somebody up.
Now, the second half of the year, now Painter's going to enter the picture. I think he's going to wind up being in the bullpen.
That's what I thought. And I saw Ruben Amaro saying something the other day. He didn't dismiss it, but he said he wasn't so sure that's what they'd end up doing. And he's got a pretty good read on things. So I don't. Now, I mean, you can't put him in the starting rotation unless you do something with, Ranger and or Walker. So I mean, unless he's thinking one of these guys is going to. I mean, you can't really trade Nola or. I mean, I don't know how he comes up and doesn't do anything but go in the bullpen unless you get 3 or 4 injuries in the rotation. But I just found it interesting that he wasn't so sure that that's what they would look to do necessarily, and he has insight into that kind of stuff for sure.
I'm sure too. So, the other thing is trade, right?
Yeah.
So are you trading Ranger? Are you, nobody wants Walker,
right?
Nobody's, you're going to have to pay 75% of your salary if you trade Walker. Nobody wants Nola with that. He's got 5 years left, which will be a disaster. You're not trading Wheeler, probably not trading Sanchez. And you're not trading Luzardo. So that leaves Ranger.
Nola might appeal to some teams, but you'd have to throw money on a high prospect in to get anything decent back. And if somebody thinks, look, we can turn him around or something. But the issue with Ranger is it's his last year of his contract. He's not under control after this year. So as a team that has, if you're going to try to get like a Mason Miller or something in some sort of deal, like Suarez doesn't mean anything to the Athletics unless they can sign him, right?
That's true. Yeah.
So are you going to? You be basically your best case scenario then is if you have a contender or a team that now that there's more teams in contention with the extra wild card that just well, we need one more arm and we have this surplus bat or whatever you're going to do. Like, no one's going to trade a decent arm for a Ranger because you want to hold on to that. So that's,
That might be the Cubs. That might be the Cubs
yeah,
because they just lost Steele,
yeah,
right? They're a contender. Um, and the Cubs have some young bullpen arms. Um, they got that Porter Hodge. He just got destroyed a couple, last week, but he's still a good young arm.
yeah. I mean, usually you don't see too many like contender via contender trades where they're just got extra pieces. I mean, it can happen for sure, but
Yeah,
yeah, if you have good players, you're not looking to trade them to another team that's trying to get rid of a good. It just doesn't happen all that much, like
right,
during the year at the very least.
right. All right, let's pivot off of pitching and let's get to the lineup, which has become an issue. You mentioned Stott leading off, and that seems to work. As far as for Stott, it's working. My issue is you now have Schwarber protecting Harper, right? And who's protecting Schwarber? Because they're not giving Schwarber has been off for these last two series. He was not good against the Marlins, and he was not good against the Mets. And I think it's they're not pitching to him
Yeah,
because they're not afraid of Castellanos or JT or whoever's behind them. Um, and then to top it off, Harper has been bad. So like it's not like Schwarber protecting Harper's helping Harper. So I don't know now if you maybe do you move Schwarber back in front of Harper and at least have Harper protect Schwarber? I mean Harper's the better hitter. Harper's the better
yeah,
player. I think
absolutely.
Harper could adjust more than Schwarber could to not having protection. Um, you might have to think about that because Schwarber has not looked good since that change has been made.
I mean, I don't think so. Could Schwarber go up higher in the lineup? Yes. Do I think that Topper's going to put him in front of Harper? No, because he won't want to go lefty lefty in the lineup. He tries to avoid that
Well,
in.
he's doing it now. He's doing Harper Schwarber.
Right. That's true. That's true. I mean, Harper's, but see, they've also been avoiding. I don't know. Like if Schwarber, I guess you could try it, but like I said, Schwarber's struggling a little bit, and Harper's not. Harper's been getting a lot of off-speed stuff and breaking balls, so they're not giving him a lot of great stuff to hit. If Schwarber is struggling, that's not going to change no matter what the order of the two is. I think. I mean, their problem is you don't have a right-handed bat to come up behind either one of them that can
Right.
strike any fear into the hearts of opposed. I mean, look, Castellanos has found ways to get on base, but I don't know how he got other than he's slow. I guess he got thrown out. He had the line drive that Kepler hit off the glove of the second baseman. I think to slow the ball down. He still got thrown out at home plate.
I know he's
You
slow.
know, and I mean,
See,
you got
here's
guys
the
getting on
thing.
base like Sosa, Roa. I bet that these guys. Come on, you can't you can't move those guys up in the lineup. And
No,
it's
you
like
can't count. You can't count on Rojas. I don't care what Rojas is doing. He's not. He's
no,
not going to hit. Right? If he could keep slapping the ball on the ground like he's doing, he'll be fine. But he's your 9 hitter. Maybe. I mean, I'd hate to move him up again because he's been hitting again. But maybe Bohm moves up.
that I mean,
Right?
if you're trying to play if you need I don't think they would put. Even if Kepler started hitting better, like I don't think you're gonna put 3 lefties in a row. So like if
No.
you want another right-handed bat, Bohm is your only option. Like JT's not hitting.
No.
And maybe that he's playing a little better. That'll put a little more confidence into Bohm to get that kind of, the confidence that if he gets moved back up to that 4 or 5 hole, whatever. But I just, yeah, I mean, I mean, and they're getting guys on base, but they're not doing anything once they get on. I mean, how many double plays did they get? Are bases loaded, strikeout, pop out? Like,
They don't come up with big hits. And here's the guy who's getting away with it again. Trey Turner. Trey Turner is not doing what Trey Turner needs to do for this team, right? We just went through the whole lineup and we were letting him skirt by without mentioning his name. There's a guy who's a right-handed hitter who should be protecting somebody or whatever, but he swings at everything.
yeah.
He's not patient. he's just not been the player I expected him to be when they signed him. I don't know what your thoughts
I
are,
mean,
but
yeah, he hasn't lived up to the look. I get you wanted to bring somebody in, that was the price you had to pay. So almost for him to live up to the price of the contract in the years would be nearly impossible. But you hope you get pretty close. Like Harper's been worth every dollar that they paid in that
sure.
contract, right? And I would Schwarber too. And that's Schwarber's not getting an exorbitant amount of money, but Turner got that big contract, and he's not. He's playing up to 60% of that value over the course of. I mean, he goes on streaks, right? And he looks good
That's the
here, but
thing.
he's not consistent enough. So
That's it.
I don't know who else from that class, if you wanted to fill that, who's really doing well as a free agent from there. Bogarts
Nobody.
hasn't been doing anything for San Diego.
Swanson's been
Swanson's,
bad.
yeah. So it's not like you passed on a guy that would have been the right player necessarily. But at the same time, you put a lot of money into somebody that's not delivering close to what that value is on the contract. And we were all for it. So I'm not going to blame him for making the move. Absolutely.
Right.
But yeah, the bottom line is I mean, he was hitting, I don't know what it is after last night, it was 250. And
He got one hit today, but I think that's it. He's probably 1 for 4.
his on base is 3.35, so I mean, you can't have that, like, from that contract. And, especially when you consider that he's a negative defensive player. Yeah. So
Yeah, he's not good. He's not good defensively. I mean, we've mentioned that before. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like, I'm not going to kill the Phillies for that because Correa has not lived up to. He was another shortstop in that group. It was Correa, it was Swanson, it was Bogarts, and it was
yeah,
Turner.
Correa got medically rejected by 2 teams. So I mean,
Right. Right. So, I mean, sometimes, I tell people this all the time who want to blame Thompson, and, I am going to blame Dombrowski because I don't think he did what he needed to do. But, like, sometimes the players need to take some of the blame, right? I mean, Trey Turner, you got all that money. You're a better player than this. You're a better player than you've shown. What is this, his third season now with the Phillies?
yeah.
I mean, you're a better player than you've shown. So you gotta step up. Maybe that's a guy. Maybe that's a guy who protects one of the. Harper or Schwarber somewhere, right? If you split up, you bet Harper second, and then Turner's protecting Harper, and then you get short. Now.
Yeah. I mean, that if Turner plays a little better and you want to juggle it, that's probably the move I would make. I don't know that I would put Schwarber second. I mean, you could. I mean, I don't know. I think there's a good chance by the time we're All-Star break or later, like, Schwarber's leading off, and that's the way it is for the rest of the year. I mean, if it's not, then that's a good sign, perhaps. But if he struggles, I mean, and he hasn't really let off much this year at all, and his number, was tied for home runs and whatever, as of another, but he hasn't hit any in a couple days now, like you said.
Yeah.
But he was like 2 for 13 in the series or so. He just was off completely in the Mets series, and wasn't great against the Marlins either. So, yeah, we'll see. But I mean, he can heat. I mean, with June is his month, so or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
So he could be heating up. So him and Nola will get hot once June rolls around, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, because if he's not doing anything, like, you can't leave him. You either drop him in the lineup, which I think is probably not the right move, or you move him up to lead off and see if he can get going back to where they've had him for the most part for the last couple of years. And if Stott is being effective in leadoff, do you want to mess with that? So you get yourself in trouble if your move actually works for one player but not the other, because then,
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to roll the dice and hope you don't crap out at some point before you get close to the trade deadline, when maybe you can actually make some moves and get some players in here. We were talking Crawford. It doesn't sound like anybody thinks Crawford is anywhere near coming up anytime soon if this season. So that would be like an all-star game trade deadline move if they had to bring him up. So he's not coming in to save the day. And I don't think Weston Wilson is either, with all due respect to him. But
No, they just got to,
Their stars have to start playing like stars.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
That if they can't do that, if Harper and Schwarber are struggling, no matter where they are in the lineup, this team is not going to win games unless they're winning them
yeah,
1-0, 2-1. That's it.
yeah.
That's the bottom line.
It is. It is. You can't have Harper. Harper's not playing well. I mean, he's not playing well right now. So, all right. So that's enough killing the Phillies. So already they deserve it. I mean, they absolutely deserve it for now. So, all right, let's jump to the NBA playoffs. Now we're slightly late because all of these series have started. They're all pretty much, for the most part, 2 games in. I guess half are 2 games in and half aren't. So we're right around that. But what we'll do is we'll go through each series. We'll give our winner, and then we'll take it further, and then get down to who we have winning the championship. One thing I wanted to do was to bring out that piece of paper because we had our draft before the season. Now I know who I have. I'm sure you know who you have. I kind of know who Meeker and Omar and Tommy's first pick is, but I don't remember their second pick. But maybe we could bring that up at the end. But all right, let's start in the East, and we'll start with the number 1 seed Cavs. They beat the Heat pretty handily in Game 1. They're up 1-0. Series price currently is minus 4,000 on Cleveland and plus 1,500 or so, it looks like, on the Heat. Chalky, probably a slam dunk,
Well,
but
I'd say, yeah. I mean, Spoelstra is one of the best coaches in the league. If he can win this series without half of Cleveland getting hurt, it might be the greatest coaching job in the history of basketball. So
yeah,
if it goes 5, the Heat will be lucky. They might steal 1.
yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, that's a slam dunk to me. Celtics Magic is interesting. Celtics are up 1-0, but Tatum seems to be hurt. And then Brown, I don't think Brown's 100% either. So that price is even worse. So that's minus 8,000 for the Celtics and plus 2,200 for the Magic. And again, Celtics are up 1-0. I mean, I'll start. It won't matter. The Magic have a good young team. I like them. Maybe next year they can make some noise, but probably a sweep for the Celtics.
Sweep, or if I could see maybe Orlando steals a game in Orlando if they keep. I mean, Celtics even without Tatum are minus 10.5 tonight. So obviously the bookmakers don't expect it to be that close.
Is he out? Is he definitely
He's out
out
tonight.
tonight?
Yeah, he's out tonight.
Okay.
I could see like they win tonight, they sit him game 3 just to give him an extra day, and maybe Orlando gets that one. But because Orlando played them close for some of the game the other night. But yeah, 5 games is the most. Orlando, to me, I mean, I think you and we all might have picked them to win the division this year. So they won the division with a losing record, I think. So their overall record was a disappointment. Young team, but no, they're not ready to take the Celtics out, even if Tatum misses the rest of the series.
Yep. Okay, so far we're in agreement. So now Knicks Pistons, that's 1-1. So the Pistons actually probably should have won Game 1 also, but they took Game 2. Knicks are still minus 250, and Pistons are plus 200. Who'd you have here, Chalky?
So I really wanted to take the Pistons after, by all rights, they should have won both games. They are up 15 or more in the fourth quarter in both games. They blew the first game, almost blew. I mean, the Knicks tied it up with less than 2 minutes left in Game 2. I just can't go there. I mean, the Pistons just don't have enough talent, and Tobias Harris will give you a good half, but he doesn't play well in the second half or whatever.
Yeah.
The Knicks are just too talented, but Tibbs, like, I don't know, and we have killed, or you particularly have killed Towns at times. Like, Towns was nowhere to be found at the end of that game the other night. Like, either they weren't running plays for him or he didn't want the ball or whatever it is, but you got to try to get him involved. And, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'll say Nixon, I'll say 7. I'll say maybe it'll go 7 because Detroit's obviously played them tough, but I think the Knicks win. It wouldn't be the shocker now, obviously, having seen Detroit play, but I think the Knicks win.
So this is a series where I wish we would have done the preview before the series started, because I did bet the Pistons and I think I got 600 on them. Um, so I have thoughts on the Knicks. You know, you just mentioned it, but my thoughts on Towns is he's soft, right? But the way I look at the Knicks is, to take a step back from there. We all like Mikal Bridges as a player, right? I think he's a very good player. I don't think the Knicks needed Mikal Bridges because they already had OG and Anunoby, and they're pretty much the same player, right? Bridges might be a little better offensively. OG might be a little better defensively. I just think that was a move that they didn't have to make. They could have added something else. I would have. I'm not a Knicks fan, but I would have liked to seen them add some kind of inside presence, right? Because Towns is not an inside presence. Like, he's a good rebounder and stuff, but defensively, he is not going to help you defensively. And the way I look at Brunson is, correct me if I'm wrong, Chalky. I kind of equate Brunson to 2001 Sixers with Iverson,
Yes, I
right?
saw. I saw that was the exact analogy I saw when. I mean, I caught a little bit of the end, and I'm like, it's all run through Brunson, and that was the criticism I saw on Tibbs, which was they're running the offense is being run like this is the 2001 Sixers, where you
Oh,
have
who said that? That's
I
interesting.
forget one of the writers on Twitter said it, and it's like I didn't think of it at the time until they pointed it out, but I was like, that's exactly right. And they have Bridges, they have and yeah, they brought Bridges and Towns in the offseason. Like, they traded for Bridges, and you think, oh, okay, and then Towns came out like out of nowhere, which I mean, I don't, if you were going to bring in Bridges, or if your goal was to get Towns, I probably would not have brought Bridges, and I would have looked for a different piece as it was. But
I mean, they need a guy. Like, you're not going to get him, but a guy like Mobley would be perfect for them,
yeah,
right? Some kind of inside presence
yeah,
defensively. That's the type of, like, player that they needed. But that's interesting that somebody. So, all right, so maybe I'm on the right path. At least somebody else had those thoughts. But, and you know what they did with the Sixers did with Iverson? They surrounded him with role players,
yeah,
which is what the Knicks had last year. If you think about it,
yeah.
who did the Knicks have around Brunson last year
Yeah,
when they were
we
successful?
talked about it. I mean, none of the Brunson was. You could argue Brunson was now a legit star after the playoffs last year, but they didn't have any other big dogs. I mean, DiVincenzo was 3-and-D guy, Josh Hart hustle guy, the center Hartenstein, and then the center that got hurt, like Bogdanovich. Like, yeah, none of these guys. I mean, they beat the
They're
Sixers,
all
but
role players.
they were all role players, like decent players, but other than Brunson, no real stars on the team. And now you bring in Towns. Bridges is probably not a star, but like, he's a top 5 defensive player in the league in a lot of ways, and he was 3 first round, 4 whatever it was picks. So
Like five.
yeah,
Might have been.
but yeah, actually, it was probably more than that. We liked him, but I was like, I wouldn't have gave up that much,
No.
for Bridges, whatever. So, they totally shook the team up. But I mean, when they got rid of guys like Hartenstein, who had to go, and I think Bogdanovich retired, right? And they traded DiVincenzo in the Towns trade, which I don't know. I mean, DiVincenzo certainly took it personally. So who knows how the rest of the team took it, but.
Even the following year, it's crazy how close it does mimic that 0-1 Sixers team. So in the following year, everybody was like, all right, the Sixers need a second scorer. Let's go get, was it Van Horn? Who did they go get in
I
the
think Van Horn was the following year. I believe that they brought in
Harpering?
Matt
Matt
Harpering.
Harpering? Matt Harpering, right? So now the thought was, oh, you have somebody else who could score, and it
Which
just didn't work.
I don't know why they thought Matt Harpering was
I
somebody
don't,
that's going to
I don't,
score, but
yeah,
yeah,
I can't believe that Matt Harpering was the answer when you needed a scorer, but it didn't work, right? It didn't work, and it's the same thing here with the Knicks. Like, this doesn't work. Not as good as last year, anyway, right? I mean, who knows if Brunson don't get hurt in that Game 7? Who knows what would have happened
yeah,
last year?
yeah.
But um, So yeah, I bet the Pistons before the series, and I'm sticking with it. I'm taking the Pistons. And Cunningham. Before we get off of that, Cunningham is an absolute star. That kid is a
Yeah,
star.
I mean, I've been picking him for like most improved or whatever for the last couple years, but he's very, very, very talented, and he might be. I don't know if he's going to have to carry this team with again, but they got. I mean, Duran. They had to get some other young players, so who knows?
Yeah.
I'm not going to be pro Tobias Harris at this point on any team, but
No, no. But hey, I have to be right now
yeah,
because it
for sure.
helps my wallet. All right, Pacers Bucks. So Pacers are up 2-0. Series is still only minus 450. I can't read my writing. Call it minus 450 for Pacers, plus 350 for the Bucks. Um, I just don't think that's another team that made a trade. The Bucks. They brought in Lillard and they traded Drew Holiday. And people get blinded in the NBA by points, by scoring averages and stuff like that. And Holiday's just a much better player than Lillard is, all around, right? And then they traded Middleton for what, Kuzma.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
I mean, they totally wrecked the roster. I don't think they're beating the Pacers.
No, I would have picked. I mean, I would have picked the Pacers before the series. They're up 2-0 now. I mean, it's interesting. So Lillard actually, I would have expected him not to play at all, but now he's back after being. They thought he might be out
Yeah,
for the year. It's contentious, so it's heated. That makes it interesting. But there was a blockbuster trade of between Portland and Milwaukee that you're talking about, and the ultimate winner turned out to be Boston, who eventually got Holiday
they got
out of the whole
Holiday.
thing and won the championship last year. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, Pacers.
All right, let's jump to the West. Um, so the Thunder and Grizzlies. This series, Thunder are up to 2-0.
Next, next.
I'm trying to read my writing. Is it minus 20,000
For the series,
Thunder?
hold on. Let's
I
see.
think it's minus 20,000. So if you
Series,
think
series
if you think
market.
Memphis has
Yeah,
a shot,
minus 20,000.
yeah, plus 4,000 for the Grizzlies. Yeah, I mean they won the first game by what,
50
50.
something points, and they didn't play everybody in the fourth quarter. So
All right, so we won't even ask your opinion there. Rockets Warriors. This is an interesting series. So the Rockets are this 2 seed with the home court advantage, but the Warriors were a heavy favorite in the series. Warriors did win game one, so they're up 1-0. And right now the Rockets are plus 300 and the Warriors are minus, I want to say 380. What do you think?
yeah, I mean it's the seventh seed is a favorite. That's because they only got Jimmy Butler at the trade deadline. I mean they played. They had one of the best records in the league since getting Butler, but they didn't make up a lot of ground because, I mean, just to go back, I mean, you look at that. Look at the standings in the West this year. Oklahoma City was so far ahead that there's more of a gap between 1 and 2 than there was between 2 and 11 this year
Yeah,
in the seedings. That's how good Oklahoma City was this year. The Rockets, again, another young team. Better, yeah. I think they're setting up to be a good team in the coming years. Udoka is a good coach, obviously. I think this is the Warriors, and I'll say 6 maybe at the most. But Butler's rested a lot, and Steph, Butler, and Green are playing well together, and that's in the numbers. So yeah, I think they carry it through.
yeah, I agree. I think Golden State wins this series. And, this is one of those series where you look at the odds before the series, and those guys that are setting the odds, they know, right? I mean,
Yeah,
Golden State was the heavy favorite, and it was for a reason. So Golden State wins that series. I don't know how many games, but they'll win. Lakers Timberwolves. So Minnesota won game one in LA. Lakers bounced back and won game two, so the series is 1-1. Currently, the Lakers are minus 115. Timberwolves are minus 105. So Lakers are still a slight favorite. I'm taking Minnesota here. I think they're going to win the series. They're pretty deep, and I don't know. I just don't believe in the Lakers with Luca and LeBron. I don't know how deep they are. They have Reeves also, but then after that, there's a major drop off in talent there. I like Minnesota here. I didn't bet it before the series. Now, if Minnesota was plus money, I'd probably bet it, but I'm not going to touch it. But I'll take Minnesota in the series.
Yeah, I'll go Minnesota as well. I just, we talked about before, like, and of course now I just talked about how good the Warriors are with Butler, who they just picked up. And I'm going to say that the Lakers still need time to gel with LeBron and Luca. But, I mean, look, I give Redick some credit. I wasn't sure he could be that decent, but he's done I wouldn't have thought them to be the 3 seed, and they were playing well before even getting Luca. But Timberwolves, I do. I think they have a little bit more dog in them, if you will. And that's saying something with Gobert, who I think is a little soft. But
Yeah,
they have Anthony, who is one of the best players in the league, let alone best young players. So I'm gonna go Timberwolves in maybe 7.
yeah. Okay. And then the last series is Nuggets and Clippers. This is a pretty evenly matched series. Nuggets pulled out game one, lost game two, so it's 1-1. Currently, the Nuggets are actually a dog now. They're plus 140. And then the Clippers are minus 165. Series moves back to LA. Chalky, what do you like?
It pains me to say it, but I'm gonna go Clippers. They had a lead that they blew in game one, so they could be up 2-0. And Kawhi the other night looked like Kawhi from 2019. So if he can play like that, I don't care how good Jokic is, that they're going to be tough to beat. So Clippers.
Yeah. I'm just going to go with the Nuggets, and I'm not strong on this, but everybody I've heard likes the Clippers. So I'm just going to go against the grain with this one. Jokic is still the best player in the world, really. So he's the best player in the series. I don't know. Do we trust that Kawhi is going to? I mean, obviously he's been great so far, but is he going to continue that? We all know Harden is hot and cold, and then is Ben Simmons even doing anything? Like, what has he done anything?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I'm going to assume no. So I'll go with the Nuggets, but I'm certainly not strong, and I'm not betting it. Although I guess we could stop right there and talk about who we picked when we did the draft lottery before the season. So I do have the Nuggets, and I had the Mavericks. So obviously the Nuggets are my last chance not to have to pay another dinner, which I think will be inevitable. Chalky, you had the Sixers, so that was probably the worst first round pick. Who was your other team?
Milwaukee was one of them.
Okay, so
I don't even remember. I don't remember who the rest of them were. To be honest,
you'll be soon owing a dinner as well.
I'm hoping I took Golden State at some point. Maybe, I don't know, but
we only did 2 rounds.
we only did 2 rounds. Oh, then I guess it's the Sixers in Milwaukee.
Yeah, because nobody has Cleveland.
Right.
So
that's right. We had 5. We had 5 drafting. Right? Was it?
We have 5 people drafted. Yeah.
Okay.
Omar has Oklahoma City, and then I think he had Memphis was his other team.
Yeah, I remember Memphis.
Meeker had the Knicks, and then I think he had the Lakers, and then Tommy had Boston. I don't know who Tommy's other team was.
I remember who the other team was. Yeah.
I don't recall offhand. So, it's looking bleak for me and you. It's looking bleak for Meeker. Tommy's got a shot, and of course Omar's got a shot. So, and then obviously, if Cleveland wins, we don't pay anybody. So, all right. So let's skip ahead.
So, real quick, the Ben Simmons stat line for the playoffs in total: 21 minutes played, 1 for 2 on field goals. For 2 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block, 5 fouls. He's got more fouls than points.
What? I mean, other than that, he totally just lost his mind. What happened to that guy? He was such a good player.
Combination of physical elements and psychological factors.
Mental
I
elements.
Would believe, yes.
Yeah. I honestly think he lost his mind. flat out, I think he lost his mind. It's just incredible. People are
The Sixers
comparing.
have broken many a player over the years recently. So
It's true. Although I think he was broken by who was the coach? McMillan with the foul,
oh
Hackabin, and
yeah,
that.
yeah, Atlanta.
Yeah, I think that broke him. All right, let's skip ahead. So I'll just give the rest of my East, and then I'll throw it to you, and then you give your West, and then because we're going to have different matchups here. So I have Cleveland and the Pacers. Obviously, I think Cleveland's going to win that series. And then I have the Celtics and Pistons. I do think the Celtics win that series. And then I actually have Cleveland beating the Celtics to go to the finals. How about you, Chalky?
So Cleveland over Indiana next round, and then Boston over New York, and then Boston over Cleveland.
So you have Boston going to the finals.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have Cleveland. You have Boston. What do you have in the West?
OKC over the Clippers, Warriors over the Timberwolves, and then OKC over Warriors to go to the finals.
All right, so I'm pretty similar. I have the Thunder beating the Nuggets, and then I have the Warriors beating the Timberwolves, and I have the Thunder beating the Warriors to go to the finals. I don't think anybody's beating Oklahoma City this year. I don't know where their 68 wins fell in history, but it's got to be top 10, I would think. Right?
I believe, what was Golden State's record? 73 a couple years ago. So it's within 5 games maybe of whatever the record is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
and they had guys hurt. Hartenstein didn't play the whole year. Caruso didn't play the whole year. So Yeah.
I think barring an injury to SGA, there's nobody beating Oklahoma City this year. I think they're a lock. I think if you wanted to start parlaying things with them, I think it's a good bet. How about you, Chalky? Oklahoma
City was my pick at the start of the year. I'm not changing it now. I had them beating the Sixers, and now I have them beating the Celtics. So
okay, all right. So quickly, we're going to end with some thoughts on the NFL draft, some bets. I know Chalky and I guess you could say stole some bets. Just hearing chatter on Twitter, on the internet and stuff about some picks we made. Chalky, any thoughts? Any bets you have live?
So I'll some of the bets we stole. I'll let you cover that since you're the one that sent them to me. But I
stole them and then I assisted Chalky.
But Janty, whatever. Ashton from BSU is possibly on the top 5, so no lower than 6 most likely. So I have a couple bets around that, and then I have top 5 exact: Ward, Hunter, Carter, Campbell, and then Ashton, which is that's negative. It's minus 120, so that seems to be pretty good odds now. Not that we're getting specific teams. If you're Cleveland, I don't know why you're not taking Carter if you're high on him, because you need pass rushers. And Hunter may be a decent player, but I don't know that he's worth the second pick in the draft.
But doesn't Carter play the same position as Garrett though? Like, is it?
He does, but you have nobody else like on the defensive line. I mean, if you got those two lining up on the edges, well, that's the thing too. So I believe Cleveland plays more of a traditional 4-3. Maybe Carter's not that kind of pass rusher. I'd say that. If he goes at 3 to the Giants actually have. I mean, that'll make their defensive line even better, but they don't have as much of a need there because, I mean, they just traded for Burns. They got Thibodeau and they got Lawrence on the line. So, but that's why Cleveland is perpetually a bad team,
Well, I mean, listen, their defense is going to be really good. I mean, that pass rush will be fierce.
Yeah. So I have that top 5 exactly. That's minus 120. And then, the other one, I said that Jaunty top 5 or top 6 in various bets. The other one, I took Sanders, Shooter Sanders as under 21.5, meaning he'll go for somewhere from 1 to 21. That's minus 155. I see him dropping. He won't be a top 5 pick, probably not top 10. and then it's a free fall. But I think somebody who wants him will jump up into that range before. I mean, I don't think it gets past Pittsburgh, but somebody might jump up a couple spots
Yeah.
or jump back into the first round if they like that. And then specifically just to talk, not bets I made, but the Eagles defensive lineman, I believe, is the favorite. That makes sense. But safety, some drafts have him taking the safety from Georgia if he drops that far. That's like plus 600. And then also tight end, which is not one of the top. Howie's not going to stay at 32. Bottom
I think
line.
he's going to
So
move around.
he'll move down or he'll move up, but he's not staying at 32.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I kind of didn't bring them up because I don't think there's anyone has any idea what they're going to do other than not pick 32nd.
Yeah.
So, all right. So some of the bets I made and some of these, well, the one that I made a long time ago that I'm going to hit is I had Hunter going number 2. And I did that like a month ago. So it's a decent payout. It's plus, forget the actual number, but, and I do have Gentee, under 6.5. I also bet him top 5. I bet the Bears to draft the running back first. So I'm hoping be great
Yeah.
if the Bears,
If it's not him and just they got to drop down to draft a running back.
right. So I'm hoping the Bears move up to get him because I have the Bears drafting a running back first. Chalky and I do have a Saints defensive line bet that we bet a week ago when it was plus 600. And now that's the favorite for the Saints to pick, a D lineman. Trey Amos to go in the first round. And I can't, again, these are picks I heard from people I respect. It's not like I went in and, did research and start thinking about betting these. So, in all, in all honesty, Michael Williams under 15.5. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I did have Sanders. I must have bet this a while ago. Sanders over 8.5. I think that's a slam dunk.
Yeah, I mean, right now, so I just have Bovada up because I can't get the other lines live and being in PA. But Bovada for Sanders to be drafted 15th or later is minus 325. So
Yeah, so this is a slam dunk. I could cash that already. That's Sanders' bet. And then the last one I have is Hampton going under 19.5. Don't know if that helps everybody. I think there's enough chatter for that Gentee to go top 5. I think you could probably still find maybe plus money on that to take a shot at that. Because I do think the Bears might move into the top 5 to get him. Whether they trade with New England or Jacksonville or whatever. Other than that,
one other I will say. Now I know I just gave out Sanders 21, but I didn't make this bet, but it's something I might think about if I get bored before the draft. So, excluding Ward, who's going to go number 1, the bet is who's the next quarterback to go. Sanders is favorite minus 220. Again, this is just reading what other people are saying, but it seems like Jackson Dart from Mississippi is going to be a first-round pick. Maybe somebody jumps up into the teens to grab him if they really like him. I don't know. Or, I hope New Orleans doesn't drop back because then they might not take the lineman we want. But he's plus 185 to go as a second quarterback, so that might be worth a shot too.
Yeah.
So he'll definitely be the third because he'll go before Milrose. So it's a matter of does a team like him better than Sanders and make a move to go up and get him.
All right. I think that's it. I think we covered it. So next week it will be our big Kentucky Derby show. It will mark the return of the great Jimmy D. We have confirmed that the legend will be back next week with us to talk Derby 151, I believe it is, Chalky.
You're good 151, yes, I believe so.
Yeah, Derby 151. So look forward to that show. We'll probably tape that Thursday night of next week, and hopefully we'll have that out soon after. But that's it for episode 154 of Broad Street Hustle. Thanks to Chalky for joining me, and we will see you next week.